Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. This is Sheldon. In today's tutorial, I'm gonna be teaching you guys how to classify cats and dogs in PyTorch. First thing first, this video is proudly sponsored by...
Let me just check on that. Oh, that is so mean! Can't believe that. Never mind, let's go on. Okay. Classifying cats and dogs can be super easy for human beings, obviously, but if you say you want to program the computer to do the same job for you, it would be super difficult. Because even if you can create a smart algorithm to detect, let's say, the dog's nose are generally bigger and longer than the cat's nose, there are still too many possibilities in an image. Let's say on the left side there is a cat upside down, so you have to increase the complexity of your algorithm to detect this change. So here's where CNN comes. With the help of convolutional neural network, you don't have to explicitly tell the computer the difference between cats and dogs. Instead, you just have to feed enough the images of cats and dogs into the CNN, and it will automatically generate the correct neural network structure to match the specific problem. So in the first episode, I'm gonna be teaching you guys how to find images and organize them to get ready for the training.
So what we're gonna do is to search ImageNet on Google and click the first one. It's gonna be the correct one. And we're gonna type in cat. And this will give us a whole bunch of images of cats. And we choose the ideal one. I'm gonna choose the first one. And you can see that there is a download button here. And we click the URLs. So you can see a whole bunch of links to the images here. We can have a look at the image by opening one of them here. Okay. So there's a cat lying on the ground. So this is what we're gonna get. So we're gonna download it manually. I'm just kidding. We're gonna use Python to do it. Obviously, this will make our lives better. So what we're gonna do is make a new project. Okay. So the first thing we need to do is to create a new file called download. Okay. Well, you can call whatever you want. So to download the images automatically, we have to think about how we download images manually and then simulate the process with our Python code. To download an image manually, we can first go to the website of the list of the images of cats here, and we can open one of them, and then we can get a cat. Plain and simple, right? So what we're gonna do first in our code is to define a URL to the images of cats, which is gonna be this one here, and go ahead, copy and paste it here. So what we're gonna do next is simply just open up this link and see what it returns. It better returns a list of images of cats. So what we're doing in this line of code is to import the request function from the request module under the building package of Python, urllib. So we're gonna make a new function called a getList, which will return the list of images of cats. So here the list is this list, okay? So before opening up the URL to the list of images, we have to first make a request to specify what kind of request we're making, like which URL we're gonna open, something like that. So we're gonna open up the URL now with the request that we build. So to open up the URL, we have to import another function called URLOpen. So now we can open it with our request object. and we got a response. So we can simply read the content from the response. But there's one problem. You cannot just use the data directly because it is just raw data. You have to decode it first. And usually we can decode it with UTF-8. So that's it. The content is gonna be the list that we need. So to make the code more understandable, we're gonna make some modification here. We're gonna copy it and paste it here, and this is the function that we need. So here we're gonna test this function to make sure it works. And we're gonna simply print out the result. Here comes the most exciting moment. We run the code, and there's our list of images of cats here. To make sure it works, we click on one of them, and there you are, an elegant cat standing on the floor. So our function works. However, if you look closely, it is not a list, it is a string. We have to make it into a list by splitting it up. So here you are, a string, a list, I'm sorry. But there is this little guy here that is really not what we wanted. So we're gonna split it with this little guy here so it can make it disappear like this. Okay, so that is the pure list that we wanted. So here we're gonna delete this line of code and define a new function called getImagesItem from the list, the URL list. Okay, so in this function we're gonna give it two params. The first one is the URL list. The second one is gonna be the container folder, which contains the images. Okay, folder. So the first thing we need to do is to define a base folder which contains the folder of cat images as well as the folder of dog images. Here we name the base folder data, and we're gonna check if the base folder exists, because if you want this program twice, it will throw an error if it exists, and you still want to make one, right? So we're gonna import the exist function from the OS path. Here we're gonna put it inside the exist function. So we also need to import the make directory function from OS, and we're gonna make one. Make the base folder if it doesn't exist. So now we're gonna make the folder that actually contains the images. There's two ways to do so. The first one is simply just add up two folder names. Okay? Because the folder that contains the images is under the folder of the base folder. The second way to do that is to use the join function inside OS path. The good thing about this function is it can make our code more elegant. Okay, so now we can go ahead and make another directory. There you go. So the next step is to loop through the URL inside the URL list and simply download the images and save it to the specific directory. Plain and simple. So, we're gonna repeat the previous steps and use the request function to open it up. Open the URL up. Oh, no. We're gonna make a request instead of opening it up. And then, in the next line of code, we're gonna open it up. So here, if you're smart enough, you can see that, yeah, like I said, I'm just repeating the previous code here. So that is just not what we wanted. We want the code to be more elegant. So we divide another function. We're gonna name it my request. And we're gonna simply paste all the code that we're repeating here. And we're gonna put the decode function here. Okay, so now we return this, and we can use this function here. Plain and simple, right? Okay, so now let me just check the code. Okay, there's a little bug here. This decode function, we cannot place it here. We have to place it here because we're not using this decode function down there. Okay, we're gonna... that is just because we're not using the decode function here when we download the images. We're just using the raw data. Alright, so this content is actually just the raw data of the image. Okay, we're gonna open a file. We're gonna use the join function again, and we're gonna make a file under the folder. Okay, so now we're gonna name the file with the folder name as well as the sequence of the image. You can see that the count variable is not defined yet. We define it later. We save our images with JPEG because originally it's just JPEG. So the good thing about opening a file with the with handler is that it can save and close the file automatically when you've done your operation. So now we write the file with the content like this. Okay, now it's time for us to implement this little guy here, the count variable. So now I'm gonna introduce another good stuff here, an indicator, which can indicate the process of your program, like how many images left for us to download. So we're gonna import something else, which is called the TQDM package. So we're gonna use the class from it. So we're gonna import the TQDM class from the TQDM package. So now this is how we use the TQDM class. This class takes a iterator to generate an indicator. So we're gonna use the length of the URL list to put inside a range, so it can generate something like this, a list, actually a iterator. So now we're gonna use this indicator, and because this line of code is adding up strings, so we're gonna enforce it to be a string and use the n, which is a number of how many times this few lines of code has processed. So we have to update it every time it processes, so this number can change. Okay, so there's one more thing we have to pay attention to, because this few lines of code is using the URL function. So inevitably there are gonna be some errors. and those errors can interrupt your program, and you really don't want that to happen, so you use the try and except function to catch the exceptions, which is the error. And you can simply just print out the reason, which is telling you why this error is happening. In my experience, most likely it's just because the server is not responding. So this continue means that if this program encounter a error, just let it go on. Ignore the error and go on. Probably some people might get confused with this if main equals main. In my explanation is just if you are running this program with this very file, this is gonna be the entry of the. But in contrast, if you just import this file in another file, then this few lines of code wouldn't be executed. So now we're gonna get the URL list with this getList function, and we're gonna get the images from the URL list, and also we name our folder cat. Okay, so here's the most exciting time. Hopefully it works. Okay, that's disappointed. We got an error. So I'll probably see what's going on here. We cannot just print the reason like that, because this reason is actually not a string, so we cannot add them together. We have to enforce it to be a string. So this time I guess it would be good. Okay, there's definitely something wrong here. Okay, probably it is just because of the names of the images. Let me just pause the program here, and here I guess we can simply solve it by not using this folder. Yeah, because it is already is repeating the whole directory, the whole path. So what we're gonna do is delete this one and just use the number as the image names. So I guess it's working now. Okay, obviously it's working. And let's have a look at the data folder, and there's a cat folder, and we're gonna have a look. Okay, here are our cat's images. Okay, that's great. And what we're gonna do next is to pause the program and to make our code even more elegant. Okay, we're gonna import another library which is called the parse, the art parse. So we're gonna make some modification here. Okay, for this line of code, you don't really have to understand it. You just need to know how to use the package. That's enough. Just write as I do. So we're gonna add some arguments for our program. The first thing we need is a URL. Actually, we can just use /u to represent URL, and the type obviously is a string. So the second argument is gonna be the folder that we're gonna save the images in. Also, the type is gonna be string as well. Okay, and this line of code, yeah, you don't have to understand it either. Okay, so we're gonna use the argument we're parsing in instead of a static one. So this footer, we're gonna use the argument as well instead of a static one. Okay, so here's what we're doing. We're gonna open up the terminal. Is here. So we're gonna now delete the data that we downloaded before, and then there's no data folder, and we run this program like this. We use the URL argument, and then we copy this link and paste it here. The good thing about this is that if you want to download, like, say, the doc images later, you can just copy the link and paste it here, and you don't have to modify the code anymore. And same for the other param. So as you can see that this code is working like a charm. So we have a look at the data. There you are. So this is gonna be the end of the first episode. If you like this video, please subscribe and thumbs up, and hopefully I can see you in the next one. Bye!